You're listening to the Fayetteville 411 podcast, produced by the City of Fayetteville, where you will get information about city government and the programs and services we provide. You'll get topics of interest and an inside look into the various departments that help keep our city moving. I'm John Salling.
And I'm Sherry Kropp. Thanks for joining us for the Fayetteville 411. May is Small Business Month, and the City of Fayetteville's Economic and Community Development Department offers programs that help support business growth and entrepreneurship in our community. And we've invited Director Chris Cawley and Economic Development Manager Derek MacArthur to be a guest on our show to tell us all about ECD, and we're going to focus first on small businesses. For someone who has an interest in starting a small business, it can be a daunting task because they may not know where to start or, what to do to make their dreams come to fruition. So what type of programs do you offer to someone like that?
Yeah, so, the city's committed to a lot of different resources for small businesses. Startups are kind of tricky, though. They're risky endeavors. A lot of startups don't make it past their first year. A lot of the programs that we have that Derek really is the expert on and can run, they're really aimed at businesses in their first year to 3 years of business. We want to see that you've been established and been able to be profitable a little bit. But one of the great things about what the city does is we've got a couple of programs where real money gets laid out, but we also have an expert who's worked with businesses in banking for 15 plus years who came to work for the city and has a passion for it. He has a lot of resources in the community. We have a lot of connections with other organizations, some of which do specialize in startups. So it's always worth your time to give us a call and reach out and talk to us. If we don't have the right answer, we know the people that do.
Okay. And what should people do before they reach out? How should they prepare? What do they need to get together?
So we spend a lot of time and energy on our website. It's got a lot of great information on it. And then last year, Derek spearheaded an effort to put all of our applications for grant funding and loans online. So you can actually go in there, open up an application, see what's required, materials and things like that. If you've done your taxes before, you can do our grant applications. They're not that cumbersome. Derek has really taken pride in making sure that what we do is accessible to folks in the community.
Mm-hmm. And that web page is fayettevillenc.gov/ECD. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yep. And there's a section for business resources, and you can go there and check out a whole lot of stuff, including those partner agencies I talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And speaking of some of those business resources, what type of assistance can we give to someone who already has a small business but might be struggling with how to grow it?
Well, some of those things we look at is the business planning. We look at providing that technical assistance to see where something may be missing, and partnering you with the right resources that's out there in the community that fits your dynamic needs. When we look at your business, it's set up just for your business to get you to the next level.
And I would imagine that for someone who is not already a small business owner and they want to pursue that, they really don't know what to do. I know you can help them with coming up with a business plan, or we have resources in the community that you could probably refer them to help them with that. Let's talk about the collaboration that you have with some of the community partners in assisting.
Well, we thrive on collaboration, and some of those collaborations are working with the Fayetteville Cumberland Entrepreneur Hub, located right at Bronco Square. We thrive on collaborating with SEED, the Women's Business Center, and FTCC Small Business Center. Those are our main business partners that can help you from whatever part of the business cycle you're in, whether it's startup or whether you're ready to expand.
There are some programs out there that will invest in startup, brand new concept ideas. A lot of that is either micro lending or angel investors, things like that. Most places, the unfortunate reality of small business and new enterprises is you're putting a lot of your own money, your time, energy, heart, and soul into that to make it successful that first year so that you can prove it. From there, then you've got a track record where you can start borrowing money to make more money, being eligible for assistance grants or technical assistance. It's hard for somebody to advise you on what your next step is if it's your first step, There are some resources out there that do help with some of that startup kind of information. Derek, can you give some examples?
When you meet with some of our business partners, SBTDC, I use them for example because they're going to get you in touch with some SBA lending that may need be in place.
So what is SBTDC?
That is a
Yeah, all those acronyms. Come
Yeah.
on.
Small Business Technical Development Center.
Okay.
Okay, and a small business.
And that's run out of the university?
Yes,
at
that's
Fayetteville
run out
State?
of over at the Fayetteville Cumberland Hub, Fayetteville Entrepreneur Hub. That is, I've partnered with them in the past where they've sat down with someone and took their business plan and look at the different funding options that may be out there, whether they needed lending, whether it was going to be investments from themselves to help them get started and expand.
Yeah, one thing that brand new business owners have to learn very hard is that unfortunately it's very risky. That's kind of the way capitalism works, right? And that borrowing money is what you use to make money, and that's scary for a lot of folks, especially when you're starting out and you can't get lending from those traditional bank and things like that. You hear all these, stories, sometimes success stories of folks who put up their house as collateral and started their own business. And that's got to be very, very scary. And unfortunately, there's not a lot that local governments do in that space. We help fund organizations like the Center for Economic Empowerment and Development downtown, SEED. They help folks with those to help understand those realities of those situations. But a lot of that is just the technical assistance that we're able to help fund those positions. And a perfect example of that is Fayetteville State University investing in helping people understand what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
Too many times that we get calls saying, hey, I want a grant to start my business. But when I look at it from a business standpoint and from my banking background, that is going to be based really on your credit, how you're going to start it. Credit is a major factor when you're looking to start your business because borrowing capacity is going to get you started a lot of times or get you to where you're ready to expand.
And I understand you can also assist with grants that can help improve the look or facade of a business?
One of the programs we do offer is our commercial exterior grant program. And with that program, we offer assistance where we can do a 50-50 match up to $25,000 to help you with improvements from helping you with signage, helping you with paving your parking lot, just the overall improvement of the exterior, of the facade of the frontage of the building.
One of the things with that program and one of the reasons that the city is so passionate about offering that is that city council is responsible for adopting what's called the Unified Development Ordinance, and that sets development standards in our community. So for brand new big businesses with lots of wealthy developers coming in, it sets a standard for what they have to do. But that same standard, especially around landscaping and lighting and things like that, applies to those smaller businesses that want to fix up their place. After they spend a certain amount of money on rehab of their project, it triggers those requirements. So we don't want that to be too much of a barrier. We want our community to be beautiful, but we also want to make sure we put resources out there. And so the commercial exterior program is a big part of those resources that can help you with matching money. So you don't have to be afraid of the development regulations and those standards, and that shouldn't have to prevent you from investing in and upgrading your business.
And I've seen a few businesses around town that have taken advantage of that facade program, and they look wonderful afterwards. I know one of them that comes to mind is WIDU, radio station that kind of redid their facade a couple years ago, and it looks beautiful.
And what I like so much about that, it sparked interest from not only them, but neighboring businesses.
Yes.
So other businesses started to give a call and say, hey, look, I'd like to improve not only my business, but the community itself. So when it sparked that, it was like a chain reaction. And there's other ones right there on Murchison Road that took advantage of it. And you can see the improvement in that area today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And are some of these businesses taking advantage then of multiple of our programs, not just the exterior grant, but then?
We do. We have a business assistance loan program. With that program, we can provide gap financing. It's subordinate lending. You go to your local financial institution, and if there's a gap or a need to help you purchase that building, the city is there to offer assistance to fill that gap. And with that, the only thing we ask is you provide jobs. As you're a small business owners, those are the things that's out in the community that to operate your business, you're going to need anyway.
So I think about like a business that's got a printing press. Let's say they make T-shirt graphics, right? And so they've got a small location. They've got one printing press in there, and it takes 3 people to run it. Well, they've got online orders coming. They're working all through the weekend and the nights, and it's time to expand. So that means they've got to buy a bigger facility, which is going to take a lot of upfront capital. They've got to buy a second printing press, but they're also going to hire 3 or 6 more people, right? And so that's a perfect type of program to come to us through your bank, and the bank gives you, 3/4 of the amount that you asked for. That's kind of the standard, right? And they want you to come up with that 25%. Well, if you need to spend $1 million, that's $250,000 you need. And so that's the perfect example of a kind of program where we can provide that. We call it gap financing on the economic development side. We call it down payment assistance in home buyers, right? It's the same concept. It's you got to put in money. We can help invest in it, and we can help get the bank what they need so that you can move into a larger facility and grow the jobs in our community at the same time.
And when we talk about these programs that the city of Fayetteville offers, when I look at our peer cities, I think that what our council has done and the policies that's in place, we're far more over exceeding to help small businesses in our local community than some of our peer cities are. With the funding amounts and what we do, those technical assistances out there to help you, like I said, once again, any stage you're in. Our exterior grant program, the amounts that we use, it's not even close to what the other peer cities are doing.
Yeah, Derek has done a really good job in this role of reaching out and making connections with other economic development professionals at other cities. And, he goes to a conference and they're like, oh, we ain't doing nothing like what y'all doing. And that is a reality.
That's got to make
here.
you feel good, Derek, right?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. I get
Let's
a lot
pat
of
you on the
questions.
back.
Yeah, definitely.
I get a lot of questions on sometimes, well, how are you able to do those programs? And I always talk about is the policies and procedures that the council has put forth, having great leadership in your director. Those things go a long way for you to kind of see how far you can go out there to help your small businesses.
Well, we appreciate that. We appreciate the fact that other cities are looking towards us saying, how can we do that, right?
Yes.
So we focused mainly on small businesses today because May is Small Business Month, but there's so many other programs that your department offers. So give us like a condensed version because we could be here all day talking about all the programs. But Chris, talk about some of the other programs that you offer.
Yeah, I went to a coffee shop a couple of days ago, and there was a police officer in there, and I said to him, something about his job, and he was like, oh, do you work for the city too? And I was like, yeah, and he said, what do you do? And I was like, I'm going to need you to sit down for a minute. We do everything from small business to helping to create affordable housing to helping people buy their first home, all the way down to helping nonprofits and the community deal with homelessness issues. It is broad and vast. On the home buyer assistance, I think that's something we're really proud of. That program had kind of gone by the wayside in the city several years ago, and when we came on board with our new team, we brought that program back. So we're able to provide up to $20,000 in down payment assistance. It's a matching grant for folks to buy their first home. We started with federal grant money, and that went up to a certain income limit that was a little restrictive. And then we got some money from the state and locally from the city council that has let us go up to kind of middle income, like workforce folks, So I think about when I was young and just starting out, my ex-wife and I both worked full-time at Target. And it would have been impossible to save up for a down payment. A program like this is exactly what those folks would be looking for to buy an affordable house that they can live in and start a family. On top of that, though, home ownership, especially if you haven't seen your friends and parents go through that process and they're not helping to guide you, it's pretty daunting and complicated. And so we work with a great organization called Kingdom Community Development, and they put on monthly workshops that teach people about the home buyer process and what it takes to go through those steps and be successful. After you take that class, not only are you eligible for our programs, but you're eligible to work with them on one-on-one counseling. And so they'll go through your credit report and your history. They'll look at your monthly budget and tell you, here's some things you need to work on and look towards the future if you want to become a homeowner.
And those workshops are fantastic. Everybody should go to those workshops, no matter what your age is or where you're at in your stage of life, because I'm sure it's a lot of great information that they're sharing.
It's a full Saturday. You'll learn a whole lot of information, and we'll feed you.
Well, that's
What's not to
always a
love
plus
there?
there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Not everything's about home ownership. That's important in our community, and it's something that the mayor has spoken out quite a bit about being, wanting to advance home ownership in our community as a way to build generational wealth and create neighborhood stability. But we also do a lot of other things too. I mentioned we help fund nonprofits. Those nonprofits do a wide range of services, everything from helping people with disabilities train for jobs, helping homeless folks figure out how they're going to, move forward and with addiction issues, or helping people with first and last months to move into an apartment. We have some amazing partners in this community, and just like the small business stuff, there's a lot of safeguarding of tax dollars that happens in those partnerships. But we try to figure out, what do they need from the city, and where's the city best positioned to help them achieve those goals.
And I know that the Murchison Road Corridor plan, we're seeing some great transformations with that plan too, which you all are heavily involved with that.
So we're currently waiting to hear back from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. We put in a $41 million grant to transform some distressed housing over there. That grant also has a pretty large chunk of money for neighborhood-wide improvements and to work with folks that are in public housing to help track them over the 8-year grant period, but also get them educational, child care, job skills training programs, things like that. Because what HUD really wants to see from that program is not just the transformation of the housing, but that the neighborhood improves, the folks in the neighborhood improve, and that the people living in that housing better their situation over that period. So we hope to hear back from that in a couple of months, and that'll put us very busy. That's another example of economic development. We're looking to put a grocery store on Murchison Road. That's going to take a lot of public-private partnerships to make happen, and it's a big project and a lofty goal. But that's one of the things that grant is hoping that we can make happen.
Well, I can talk a little bit about more about the job skills. Job skills training is a new initiative that the city has put into place, and we do that through a lot of our workforce development. And some of that's from everything from training to help some of our citizens from HVAC, electrical, all the way up to coding in the classroom. We're offering skills to help you get your general contractor's license here on a local level, to increase the local contracting. We do everything from helping training from those with intellectual disabilities. We've really had a high focus on that and working with our nonprofits that do it best and helping funding them to expand their outreach.
That's wonderful. Well, you all do a lot. You do a lot in the community. And May 6th through 10th is Economic Development Week, but we're not going to wait until then to say thank you for everything that you do in the community. I know, Chris, your team works very hard, and you do as well. You and your team work very hard.
I'm really just fortunate to, have a group of folks who not only are highly trained and experienced, but also very passionate about what we do to help this community.
Yep, I can definitely see that passion in your team. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. And for folks who need more information on any of the programs that you guys offer in the community, they can go to FayettevilleNC.gov/ECD. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Fayetteville 411. The Fayetteville 411 is one of several podcasts that the city produces for our podcast channel, Radio Fayetteville. Be sure to subscribe to Radio Fayetteville, available on your favorite podcast streaming platforms.
You can also listen to every podcast that Radio Fayetteville has to offer by downloading the Fay TV streaming app, available now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV. You can view all of our video content by visiting faytv.net. To get information about city services, go to our webpage at fayettevillennc.gov. Thanks for joining us.